under the code name Have Donut.
First time I saw this baby was in 1968, one just like this, Groom Lake, Area 51. We pretty well tore it down and looked at everything. The radios, the hydraulics, the engines, everything about this plane, we examined it.
The results of the MiG-21 evaluation at Area 51 are clear. It isn't the aircraft that's the problem.
We realized it wasn't necessarily the planes, it was our people did not know how to fight. Simple as that.
Now, Area 51 becomes the birthplace of a new top-secret initiative, training American fighter pilots how to defeat Soviet MiGs in a dogfight.
We realized that there are 10 missions in the war zone for a pilot to become experienced enough that he might survive the war. So we decided, with what we learned at Area 51, let's give these pilots those 10 missions in Nevada before we send them to the war zone.
To support this new program, Area 51 undergoes a new construction phase. For the third time in its short life, more facilities are added. 5 more hangars are constructed at the south end of the test site. And to prevent any sightings of the top-secret U.S.-flown MiGs out at Groom, the airspace directly above the range is closed permanently. But despite extensive measures to ensure the secrecy of the MiG training and combat operations at Area 51, its cover is almost blown in 1974, when Skylab astronauts unwittingly photographed the base from space. The Skylab incident marks a watershed moment in the life of Area 51. By the mid-1970s, the agency's U-2 and A-12 projects are winding down at the test site. Advances in satellite technology make high-flying spy planes redundant. Now the U.S. Air Force takes control of the base.
That was a huge moment in the history of Area 51. We're transitioning from use by the intelligence community to the Department of Defense, ushering in one of the most significant advancements in military technology, the stealth revolution.
When the U.S. Air Force takes control of Area 51 in 1978, it's in the middle of the most highly classified project ever to have been through the test site.
The most exciting plane that I worked on at Area 51 was the Have Blue. The prototypes, when they brought that thing in, it looked like something we'd never seen before in our lives.
The flat-faceted fuselage of the Have Blue is a revolutionary design. And it needs to be. The experimental jet is designed with one goal in mind: stealth. Unlike the A-12, which can be seen on radar, but compensates by flying in the stratosphere at supersonic speeds, the Have Blue, a subsonic jet, is designed to be virtually invisible to radar.
When it took its radar tests, the people that were inside that weren't cleared were looking at the radar and said, well, your model must have fallen off that pole out there because there's nothing up there anymore.
Not bad for an aircraft 38 feet long and with a wingspan of 22. This success sees the U.S. Air Force green-light production of an operational aircraft, designated the F-117. But creating the world's first aircraft virtually invisible to radar has an impact on those who work at Area 51. Some employees claim the disposal of anti-radar coatings used on the jet harms their health, an allegation that forces the President of the United States to take action. Area 51. Since its creation in 1955, the exotic nature of the CIA aircraft tested here break aviation records, flying higher and faster than any aircraft before. During the Cold War, these clandestine jets flying from the secretive base, fuel a raft of UFO sightings, firing the imagination of Americans already steeped in 50s UFO culture.
The recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
But denials that Area 51 is at the heart of a UFO conspiracy fuels speculation. And in the 1980s, it reaches fever pitch with the extraordinary claims of this man.
Hi, I'm Bob Lazar. During late 1988 and early 89, I worked on the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial vehicles for the United States government.
Lazar's claims about Area 51 makes the base one of the most talked about locations in the world. But the unwanted attention can't come at a worse time for the U.S. Air Force. Area 51 is right at the heart of its most highly classified project yet: stealth.
The level of secrecy surrounding stealth is considered to be comparable to or exceeding that of the Manhattan Project, development of the atomic bomb. Stealth was absolutely vital to the future of military technology.
The creation of what becomes the F-117 stealth bomber takes Area 51 into a new era of stealth technology. In particular, the development of radar-absorbing materials, or RAM.
The concept of RAM is not classified, but its composition was one of the hottest secrets at all of the era. To this day, the Defense Department considers RAM to be top secret.
Radar-absorbing material, as the name suggests, is a class of materials used to disguise a vehicle or structure from radar. Experts surmise that the F-117's RAM is made up of sheets about the thickness of linoleum and a paint containing tiny spheres coated with iron ferrite, which vibrate when hit by radar waves. The exact makeup of this radar-absorbent material is still top secret, but according to this man, RAM is the reason he's dying.
Well, these pills here are vitamin D3 pills, which are supposed to be very good for stimulating cell growth in the lungs and things like that. The doctors told me that I might live to be 64. That means they only have a year left.
Fred Dunham, a former Area 51 security guard, suffers from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a condition he says he developed overseeing the disposal of barrels of RAM in burn pits at Area 51 in the 1980s.
The drums contained carbon fiber, resin, and sealants for making the wings and different parts of the aircraft that were very hazardous when they were burned.
No satellite images of Area 51 that show these burn pits are known to exist. But according to Dunham's description, it is possible to plot them onto a map of the base.
They were just west of the Southgate control point. There was at least 6, maybe 7 burn pits that were right within 300 yards of the base population.
According to Dunham, each burn lasts 24 hours and happens twice a week for a 3-year period through the mid-80s, exposing him to clouds of toxic fumes.
It was like someone had burned a bunch of rubber tires. The soot that was in the air was unbelievable.
Dunham believes his breathing problems come from the soot and the fumes.
I'm a non-smoker, and the doctor told me that my lungs look like the lungs of an 80-year-old man who had smoked 4 packs of cigarettes every day.
In the 90s, the former security guard, along with others, brings a case against the state for medical compensation. But the case is rejected when President Clinton signs a determination which excludes Groom Lake from any investigation on the grounds of national security. For nearly 60 years, the true story of Area 51 was hidden from the public. But the release of CIA documents in 2013 helps change that.
These documents from various government agencies, finally declassified, confirm the existence of Area 51 as an official entity, and we can at last begin to unravel its secrets.
Those documents, along with satellite imagery, are now helping to map how top-secret programs at Area 51 have changed the base, a place we now know continuously evolves in line with national priorities, and with each program that comes along.
If you look at the aerial and satellite photographs taken over the years, you can see the changes. New runways, new hangars, more infrastructure. It's constantly growing and changing and building. This is not a static facility. It's extremely dynamic.
As Area 51 has changed, so too has its role.
Area 51 is not really in the common sense of air base. Area 51 is the proving ground. That's where we can say it works or it doesn't work. You know, a lot of the missions will not touch down there. They will just fly over the base, and we can evaluate what they have come up with. It's a proof of concept facility. It's where we prove this will work or this will not work.
Created in the 50s to test the U-2, the CIA's secret base has given the U.S. the edge over its enemies for more than half a century.
Area 51 is the place where we have developed all of our stealth technologies, from the early advances of the A-12 through the modern era. Every U.S. stealth aircraft has been tested at Area 51 in one way or another.
These programs include the B-2, Advanced Cruise Missile Systems, the Air Force's latest operational strike aircraft, the Raptor, and drones now commonplace in combat zones across the world. The Raptor, unlike the F-117, is still an operational aircraft. But it, like all of the U.S. Air Force stealth programs carried out at Groom Lake in the 1980s and 1990s, remains highly classified.
Today we know about the programs like the U-2, Oxcart, the Stealth Fighter, and other demonstrators that have come since then, Tacit Blue, the Bird of Prey. But there are so many other projects, both manned and unmanned, that we may not hear about for decades.
Area 51 is light years ahead. There's no one even coming close to the technology we have developed out there. And it will continue, but that's the only way that we can remain free, safe, and be superior, is Area 51.
It's clear that the CIA story of Area 51 has played a key role in keeping America safe from its enemies. Beginning with the U-2 and A-12 projects, America's secret base saved lives in Vietnam.
The have-do-nothing program completely turned around the kill ratio in Vietnam. From 9 to 1 against us, we'd lost over 8,000 helicopters alone, knocked down by the MiGs. And we completely turned that around to the point today we hadn't lost a plane to air-to-air combat in several wars, not years, but wars.
And it's a trend that continues with the F-117, an aircraft that fought successfully in not one, but 2 wars in Iraq, with no losses.
When you start off with an experimental program, you have to cross your fingers that everybody knows what they're doing and that it's going to work out right. And of course, we were amazed that it could do so well with bullets flying through the air and missiles and everything coming up. And we were all wondering, oh my God, how can anything survive all that stuff in the air?
Now, nearly 60 years after its creation, Area 51 is still at the forefront of military technology development. We may not know what projects are being developed there, but for those who have played a part in its story, the need for these secret projects is still as great as ever.
I'm sure that there's something else going on out there. I'm glad that we're doing it, and I don't have a need to know about it, but I'm glad somebody's going to the next step. We did our best. Now somebody else has the project that's going to be doing something in the future, and I'm glad this country is doing things that we don't know about, just like we were doing things that they didn't know about.